Is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fun with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Allie Coots, and joining me today is Raina Rooney, who is a holistic health coach, nomad, and traveler. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Allie. I'm super stoked and honored to be here. These are like my passions, health and traveling. So thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. I am super stoked. And we have been trying to record this episode now, I think, for a couple of months, and finally I've been able to link up and record it. And I could not be more excited. And so you and we met through the Travel Coach Network, which we've had a couple of other travel coaches on the podcast before, including the Travel Coach Network founder, Sahara Rose DeVore. And then we've had Shelly from Your Me Escape, Geneva from Unwrap Your Map, as well as Carly Stoy, who is also part of the Travel Network family. So I am always so excited to have someone from the Travel Network join the podcast because y'all know your shit.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks, Allie. Yeah, what a lineup. All of those guys, they really do have such a great knowledge base on lots of different areas too. So I love that you've had so much variety.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I also forgot Jazz. Jazz has been on as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And Jazz is in Australia. So I mean, yes. Good job coordinating that time difference too.
Oh my God. It's a struggle. It's any coordination is a struggle for me, honestly. Time zones is just an added bonus.
Yeah.
But I really could not be just more elated to have you on and to learn more about how you got started in holistic health coaching, and to talk a little bit more about your travels, because you have done some pretty sweet trips and traveled around a bit. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that. So Raina, before we jump into getting into how you started with holistic health coaching, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I'll try and keep it interesting too. So I'm born and raised in Alaska, and growing up there, I developed a huge passion for like being outside, hiking, camping. My dad always put my brother and I kind of in like our own little wilderness survival camp. And so that was something that, growing up with I see now was such a gift. And it's definitely a passion of mine. So that's something that has carried over into my travels too. And I think maybe why I like to travel is I love getting out and being in any outdoor spaces, or like going and seeing a really beautiful, like natural landscape somewhere, like a beach or a waterfall. So that usually I noticed the theme in my travels is like tropical. So I love being by water or like hiking through jungles kind of thing. Yeah. So grew up in Alaska, and then I went to college for a year in Arizona. It was a good experience, but wasn't my favorite. So I came back home, and a lot of my friends were still back in Alaska. So then I finished out my degree there. I got my degree in health sciences.
Yeah. Also, going from Alaska to Arizona, it seems like quite a change.
Yeah. It kind of was actually, but not like you think. I went to Flagstaff, so they're 8,000 feet up, so they actually still get snow. And that was a funny thing too, because when I was there, it still got cold, and I was like, I thought when I was looking at colleges, one of my criterions was a beach. And so I'm looking at like Florida, California. My dad was like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "That's what I want." And then I ended up in Arizona. But that's just, for all sorts of different reasons. And it happened how it was supposed to happen. But yeah, so anyone who is at that age of like looking at schools to go to, I would definitely say like get out for a year, get quote unquote that college experience. And then if you want to come back home, like do that. It's nice to save some money, be around familiar people if you want. But yeah, there's a good growth opportunity.
That in-state tuition is usually a nice incentive to stay
in state. For sure.
And also, listeners, if you are well, if this is your first time tuning into the Fun with Friends podcast, you may not know this, but we do have podcast pups. We have River and Rocky, and I happen to be dog sitting both of them. So if you do hear any growling and grumblings in the background, the pups are unsettled because the mail person has come. So
dreaded mailman.
Yes, damn them. So you may hear some pup noises in the background, which if you are a listener to the podcast, that's nothing new. So we always have the dogs. And so, Raina, I would love for you to share one fun fact about yourself. So it can be anything from like your favorite food to like a weird travel experience, or I don't know. It can be literally anything.
I love this question. Honestly, I had a hard time with it because I was like, what is a good fact? I could say a quick one. I have two. A quick one is that my name, Raina Denali, I'm named after two mountains. So Raina is a mountain in Alaska. Denali is also up there in Alaska. It's the tallest mountain in North America. I was born 2 months early and weighing only like 2 pounds. And so my dad, who was a big mountain climber, he was like, I want her to have a strong name, to like fight to survive and live. And Raina Denali, my brother's name is Logan, which is, a mountain in Canada. So that's kind of a cool thing that I always share. But one that I don't share so often is kind of a hot travel tip. I traveled to New Zealand, and from Alaska, that was like a 24-hour ordeal. Oh, and I stopped over in Tahiti, and, I'm like going through the airport, and there was like some islanders playing music in there. They handed out flowers. I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm like so ready for this. So the fun fact about me is that I paid $300 for a flower that I was not planning on buying. So that's kind of the preface to this story. So anyways, I go through the Tahiti airport, and then I get to New Zealand. I'm really tired. I go through customs. I'm like 10 feet away from the door. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so ready to like get outside. And then one of the dogs in customs comes and runs and jumps on me, and they're like smelling the flower. I totally forgot. It's this tiny little flower. I put it in the side pocket of my backpack. Didn't really think about it. I was like, I don't have food. I don't have anything, like just breeze through customs. And so then the guard pulls me aside and like, is like, pulls out the flower, and he's like, you can't bring this. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, Tahiti literally gave it to me in the airport. And I'm like, I've been traveling 24 hours and I don't want the flower. Like, I'm really sorry. And the guy hands me a brochure that says, being too tired from traveling is not an excuse to forget to declare. And I was like, he was like, not having it. No. So he was like, you can either like pay this fee right now, or we're going to like have to hold you until you can figure it out. And I was like, what? So that was $300 flower is a crazy fact.
I would have had a like nervous breakdown if that happened to me. I literally would like not know what to do or how to like react to that.
It totally is stressful, and like, you think you're doing all the right things, declaring and going through the airport. You're like, this is, why would they be handing out flowers if you're not allowed to bring them, whatever. So yeah, it was, but it was a really good learning moment. I can laugh about it now, but
$300 later.
Yeah, not the best way to start the trip, but it's okay.
Oh my gosh. Right? That is a really good fun fact. Both of those, both your namesake and also how you spent $300 on a flower. Yeah. Oh my gosh. To jump into it, how did you get into holistic health coaching?
Yes. So that was a little bit of a journey as well. When I first got into college, I wanted to be a forensic like scientist. And I thought, so I was studying criminology. I was obsessed with crime shows. So that's the direction I was going in. And then I stumbled across this documentary, and to this day, I still cannot remember the name, but it was about these soldiers who were suffering from PTSD, and the treatment for them was to send them to this hospital in Europe, or, you know, I use that term loosely, hospital, but they were treating them with like meditation and yoga and mindfulness practices and like nutrition and like movement therapies, all sorts of things like that. And there was huge changes in these soldiers' health. Like a lot of them were able to get off a bunch of their medications and, you know, kind of get some more mobility and flexibility in their bodies. And I was like, time out. This is really cool. And so that kind of sent me down this path of like learning about naturopathic medicine. I didn't know about that until I saw that documentary. It was kind of, you know, paralleling that field. And so then I started like looking into that. But honestly, the school and the money involved with and the responsibility of actually being a doctor, all of that really intimidated me. And I was like, I really like, you know, the holistic health, you know, modality, but I don't want all that responsibility and I don't want to be in school that long. So then I kind of stumbled across, someone had mentioned to me, like, have you considered health coaching? And I was like, what is that? So I got my degree in health sciences, which, you know, ended up encompassing, like, I could go any direction with that. And it, as far as like health coaching goes, it was kind of coming on into the market. That was back in 2015. I would say like early 2000s to 2010 is like when health coaching started becoming more popular. So I was coming on that wave of it growing. And I learned about certification. So after I graduated with my degree, I ended up getting a health coach certification. And then I started working at a gym and I was doing group fitness classes. And so there was this theme of like health coming up, but I didn't really know like how to practice or, you know, what is a health coach necessarily. I was struggling to find like jobs that actually said health coach position that I could apply for at that time, because it wasn't super popular. And so, yeah, that's how I kind of got into it, just following like that health track, but in an alternative route. And then personally, I have always kind of been obsessed with health a little bit, but not in the best way. Like I've been motivated since, you know, I was like a little girl, you know, noticing that I'm bigger than all my friends and like, you know, society tells us to look a certain way. And so I remember just always having this pressure of like, okay, I need to be skinnier, or, you know, I need to look different. And so I was motivated to like try the green tea diet pills and like try paleo and keto and, you know, do all the different diet things because, you know, I was like, that's what's healthy. And so anyways, I think I'm getting off track.
No, that kind of leads me into my next question, which was, you know, have you always kind of been into healthy habits and healthy eating and wellness? And it sounds like you were, but maybe it was more like societal pressure, which I think a lot of us can relate to. I know I was, I guess, maybe fortunate because I played a lot of sports. I didn't think about that a lot because I was just running myself ragged playing sports. But I, you know, grew up with friends who would, you know, take all these diet pills and then drink like 4 energy drinks in the same time just so they would have energy from, you know, not eating and also like losing weight. And it was like a whole thing back in the day. That's how you dieted.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Exactly. Like, you know, so less is more kind of thing. And I felt like I was definitely motivated for all the wrong reasons. Like it was a physical appearance thing. And not to mention, like, you know, end of high school, college, like I was partying a lot and like, you know, binge drinking on the weekends kind of thing. And then I would notice Mondays would roll around and I'd be like, okay, like time to eat salads and like work out every single day, you know, doing really hard workouts. And then weekends, like just like let everything go. So it was this definitely this vicious cycle.
Yeah. What was the, I guess, turning point for you? Was there a moment where you were like, oh, like I want to get healthy. I want to do it right. And then I guess it kind of sounds like your journey was kind of a natural one, just kind of finding that flow and going with it when it comes to holistic health. But for you personally, was there like a moment where you're just like, whoa, I really got to get my shit together?
Oh my gosh, had a few of those. Yeah, I'm trying to think like if I can pinpoint a moment necessarily. Like, I would say definitely over the last 5 years, I've really kind of shifted how I socialize and just being more mindful of like, if I go out and have some drinks with friends, like what does that actually look like? Just because I think it got to a point where, the hangovers, like that is just, you're hit by a train, like every time. And I honestly, to this day, I mean, I still have a few friends who like are going hard doing that on the weekends. And I'm like, I cannot be bothered to like get back on that level because it's just, it really derails, everything you want to get done. You don't feel good. You feel bloated and you feel just bloated and feeling run down and being like, is this really like how I want to keep living my life? Like, I think just getting sick of that cycle that I was talking about. So, I finished college. I did have like another couple years of continuing to do that just because, it was fun with like my friends. But then I think eventually, you just grow out of it. Like, so the last half of my 20s, I've just been doing things differently and trying to have more balance with all of that.
Yeah, those hangovers get a lot worse the older you get.
Exactly, that too. Yeah.
It's our bodies going, nah, you need to slow down a little bit.
100%. Our bodies are so smart that way. Like, honestly, isn't that, it's like a signal, alcohol is poison for us. Like it literally, that's the response that our body is giving us. And
like it's too much, no more.
Yeah, I'm overloaded.
So I honestly know very little about like holistic health coaching. And when I say that, I mean in the sense of how it is, I want to say practiced, but maybe implemented is a better way to say it. Maybe I'm trying to say it's the same thing, but because for listeners, I have actually been lucky enough to go through coaching with Raina, and it's been absolutely amazing. So I guess I do know how it's implemented in a way, at least in my situation. But for the listeners, can you share a little bit about what holistic health coaching is and how you personally implement it in your coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say too, Allie, it's been a pleasure working with you.
I've gotten so much out of it. Like, I could gush about it for ages.
I'm so glad to hear that. Amazing. Yeah. Well, so health coaching, it's really focusing on behavior changes. And so right now I'm in my own coaching practice working as a holistic health coach. But prior to this, I was working as a health coach in a primary care clinic. And that really looked like I was partnering with a nurse practitioner. They would see their patients and then they would refer them to me and be like, hey, this patient needs to lose weight, work on blood pressure, they're diabetic, like, so all sorts of things. And of course, for the patient, this is very overwhelming and sometimes like really emotional if they're for the first time finding out that like their blood sugar's in diabetic ranges. So it can be a lot. And so my job was really to meet with this patient and this person and just be like, okay, like, so your doctor said all of these things, is there anything that you want to focus on? Like, what's a priority for you? It could be what your doctor recommended, or it could be something totally different. So to put it simply, it's basically having a conversation. It's a collaborative process. So I'm more of like your equal and like kind of facilitator in this conversation versus like a doctor is usually a little bit more authoritative and being like, this is what you need to do. This is what I recommend. For me, as a health coach, like I'm not telling people what to do, what health changes they need to make. It's really facilitating like self-awareness, asking a lot of questions, sharing resources, and being like, okay, this is where you are right now. These are, and helping you figure out like what health goals you want to focus on and where you want to be. And so my job is to help you create like a roadmap, an action plan. What steps do you need to take on a weekly or bi-weekly basis that's going to get you closer to your long-term health goals? And so I keep you accountable by having like weekly or bi-weekly check-ins. I share resources with you. Sometimes we have group coaching too. So you can have that group accountability part as well. Yeah. And so I love health coaching because it gives people the space and the time to kind of self-reflect and be like, okay, yeah, my doctor says I need to work on losing weight. That's great. Like, okay, I need to eat more vegetables. That for them, that can feel like really disempowering and, it's like, and overwhelming. Like, where do I start with that? And then we start peeling back the layers and they're like, well, actually, like, I'm not sleeping that great. So, then we can start working maybe on their sleep routine and like helping them get more sleep, because that can be a keystone habit, which will allow them to have more energy in order to maybe make diet changes, in order to maybe go do a workout or something, which would help facilitate weight loss at the end, kind of thing. So it's really just a way for you to have support, accountability, and check-ins, and someone to guide you through how to work on your health goals.
From personal experience, going through the coaching has been super helpful in like you were saying, like being able to kind of identify the actual reasons why I'm not working out or I'm not eating or I'm not sleeping, and kind of identifying those and coming up with a plan and having that person hold you accountable has made like has really helped kind of like change habits of mine that I have. So I don't know. I'm a fan. Like if you had asked me even like a year ago if I would ever have like a wellness coach or a health coach or anything of that like nature, I would have been like, no, what is that even? Like what? But I'm a huge fan. So I cannot like, I don't know, pump it up enough.
Aww, that's amazing. And honestly, that's a really common, I think, reaction. People are like, health coaching, and they're a little like hesitant, kind of, not very excited or open to it. And in my mind, I'm always like, I just need to have one session with you and just give you like, because then you can kind of wrap your brain around it and be like, okay, that's what it entails. And that happened a lot when I was working at the primary care clinic. People got an incentive, it was like $200 if they met with a health coach, and I explained how it worked. And then, they're like, oh, okay. So I would say, yeah, if you have access to a health coach, or if you're ever curious, like you want to try a little bit of it, I'd be happy to do that, because it is one of my passions. And it's so rewarding to see people like, have things click for them, especially when you've been working so long, maybe years, to manage a chronic condition, or you just feel like you're at this weight plateau, or like you're so stressed out and you can't kind of see a clear vision of how you're going to get through, what you're going through right now. Health coaching can be really, really helpful and supportive of that. And I do want to say too, just like a good comparison or like disclaimer with coaching is it's not the same as counseling. Counseling, I like to tell people, is really focusing on past issues, resolving emotional things in the past that's affecting you presently right now. Whereas health coaching is focusing on where you are right now and where you want to be. So I'm helping you basically build the bridge from where you are here to like the future that, and the vision that you have for yourself, like the healthiest, happiest version of you, whatever that looks like. So yeah, I always like to point that out too. Like it's different from counseling in that way.
Yeah. And that's a really good way to explain it, because that's something I've really enjoyed is being able to say, okay, this is where I want to go. These are the things I want to do. And then you being like, okay, let's break it down. What are the steps that we can take? What do you need to do this week to get you to that point? Because for some reason, that's a really hard thing for me personally to do, especially when it comes to like healthy habits and working out and just yeah, building those healthy habits, I really need someone to just like hold my hand along the way. So it's been fantastic having you there to help me through that. And yeah, I would, like you said, I would encourage anyone, like if you have health goals that you're having problems reaching or struggling to reach, to definitely try a wellness and a health coach, because it's been, I don't know, it's been pretty dope. I can't lie.
Yes. Love that. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. So you also, because like I mentioned earlier, we met through the Travel Coach Network. So you also do like a lot of traveling, and does the holistic health coaching kind of work into like the travel coaching that you do, or do they tie in together in any way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did get the travel coach certification because, like I said, travel is one of my passions. And I think that is similar to health coaching, except just like, travel as the main focus. So like, why do you want to go on a trip? What kind of experience? What's motivating you to travel? And to be honest, I haven't been using like just travel coaching on its own very much right now. But as far as when it comes to health coaching, I think people who are traveling and how do they maintain their healthy habits and routines while doing that, that's a huge thing. So I love getting into that topic when people are, very busy on the go and figuring out like, okay, you have this like healthy habit routine at home, like now I can help you figure out like we can make some tweaks to it and adjust it and figure out what's going to work for you while you're on the road. So that is where the travel and the health coaching overlap, I would say. Yeah, and that's something I share on my Instagram a lot. I'm a budget traveler, and I take pride in also like continuing to be healthy, because that was something when I've done coaching in the past with a lot of my patients previously, like they would always tell me like, I'm going on vacation, so I'm just going to restart when I get back, or, I'm just going to not work on anything. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fine if that's really what you want to do. But I also want people to know, like, it doesn't have to be like that if you don't want to, we can figure out a plan for what you can do.
Yeah, I like that. I'm definitely one of those people that's like, I'm on vacation, goes a little wild, but I also imagine it maybe helps you get a little bit more out of your travel as well. Because like if you are still like maintaining your habits, you're going to probably feel better and feel more balanced, which means you're probably going to enjoy your experience a little bit more. So I know I'm traveling overseas soon, and I'm excited to try to like implement some of my new habits while I am traveling, just to see what the experience is like. So I think,
you'll have to tell us about that.
Yeah, I will. It'll definitely be an episode of the podcast for sure.
And you're going to Ireland, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so my Ireland trip, and I plan to, well, I actually think it'll be really easy because it is a yoga retreat. So I'll be exercising. Perfect. And it's a complete like vegetarian, it might even be vegan catered meals every day. So I will be eating healthier than I normally do as well. So I might have it kind of easy.
Oh, yeah. So can we all just have a private chef? That would really that would make it a lot easier.
So much easier. Oh my gosh. Yes. So as a wellness coach, are there things that you kind of like commonly see in your, I wanted to say patients, but in the folks that you coach, I guess, are there kind of everyday common issues when it comes to wellness that you see?
Yeah, definitely. So I've transitioned from having patients now to like clients, personal one-on-one clients, and I'm really focusing on like stress relief and stress management. I would say a big thing that I see is people just don't have time. That's like a huge barrier, and they're like, yeah, I know self-care is great, but like, what? I don't have time to like take a bath. And that's a whole nother thing that I can like get into, that I actually have a little workbook that it's all about the different ways to practice self-care and all the different dimensions of wellness. So we have 6 dimensions. So it's, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, spiritual, social, environmental is the last one. Yeah. And so I really like sharing that with people because I'm like, self-care can be so much more than, what society and people are saying as far as, yeah. So the question was, what are some of the common issues that I'm seeing? It would be not having time for yourself. It would just be working too much, like a lot of people who are experiencing burnout and just constantly on the go. I would say that's one of my favorite types of people to work with who are in that category, because to me, it's like a little bit of a puzzle, and we kind of figure out okay, maybe there are some pockets in your day where you can have, a couple minutes to just have a little break. Or yeah, people who have sleep issues, not sleeping through the night, people who have brain fog or low energy levels, just struggling to get through the day. They're having a lot of coffee or energy drinks. And then also figuring out how to eat healthy. I've talked to a lot of clients who, they're just like, I don't have time to cook and I don't know where to start with that. And fast food just tastes better and is quicker. And, it's also cheaper. And so I would say those are all kind of common things that I see and work with.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm just thinking about myself. I'm like, yeah, stress, not sleeping, not wanting to cook. All of those. But so I have a few other questions before we wrap up. One of them is, so you've mentioned a couple of things. Folks can follow you on Instagram. You have a workbook that covers the 6 different, what did you call them? The 6 different?
Yeah, the 6 different dimensions of wellness and how you can practice self-care in that. So yeah, it's a great little workbook that guides you through how to set up a self-care routine.
Wonderful. And then you also do consultations?
I do. I have 30 minutes consultations that I can do, on the phone or video, whatever preference people have. And I basically check in with them and see, what health goals do you want to work on? What are you struggling with right now? Where do you want to be? And then I'll usually go into my services and see if coaching would be a good fit for them. So I call it my healthy habit assessment call. I kind of see what kinds of things you're doing to take care of your health right now. If we are a good fit, I usually like I said, share how we can work together, but also if not, then I can give you some resources and, maybe refer you to someone else who could help.
No, nice. That's wonderful. And where can folks find all of this?
Yeah. So I would say I'm most active on my Instagram page, which is just at Raina.Denali. And my website is rainadenalicoaching.com. So you can book a consultation call on the website or the link in my bio on my Instagram. Just hit free healthy habit assessment call.
Nice. And I'll put all of Raina's information in the episode description so you can easily find it and check out her Instagram, which always gives me a bit of wanderlust because you are always somewhere doing something wonderful and traveling, and all of the tips, the healthy habit tips are fantastic. And you share a lot of travel tips as well, which is great.
Yes. Yeah, I do. I really like to kind of combine those two, the healthy living and show that you can live healthy while traveling and show that people can travel. So if you're looking to get healthy or travel on a budget and while you're living a busy life, I've had experience in both of those areas. So that is definitely my jam. And I put all that on my Instagram.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a nice little place to go and take a break from all the other shit on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. Thank you.
So before we wrap up, I do like to ask a final question, and that is, what is one thing you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet, and what's holding you back from doing it?
Ooh, yeah. One thing that I want to do.
And it can be travel related. It can be related to like learning a new language, anything.
Oh, I will say Spanish is a huge thing. I've taken Spanish in high school, college. I've been to Spanish speaking countries, and I'm like I don't know, maybe halfway there, but I would just love to be fluent in Spanish, and that's a huge goal of mine. So I think at this point I just need to be immersed for like a year or something. Just the Duolingo is not cutting it.
And I mean, it's the perfect excuse to move abroad for a year. I mean, why not?
Yeah. You're so right. Yeah. So I think that'll, within this next year, that is going to be a big goal for sure.
That's exciting. Well, I mean, I think that's all the questions I have for you today. And I'd like to thank you for joining me and sharing all of your amazing knowledge on holistic health. And we're kind of dipping a toe in to your travel knowledge, which leads me to letting everyone know that Raina will actually be back for more episodes. We're going to do a short series of episodes that are focused on holistic health, travel, mindset, all the good things that we kind of touched a little bit on today. So keep an eye out for those future episodes, and definitely, again, check out Raina's Instagram and her website. And yeah, with that, I really, thank you so much for being on the episode today.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Allie. This really was like fun with like a friend. And thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed chatting with you.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to have you on for the other episodes, because I know we have some pretty interesting topics planned to discuss. So I'm looking forward to that.
Definitely. Me too. I can't wait.
And listeners, first off, thank you for tuning in today. If you're still around, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging in there. If you have questions or comments for me or for any of my guests, including Raina, you can call and leave us a voicemail on our hotline. It's 252-419-6004. You can also text that number and leave your questions and your thoughts, whatever you're feeling about the episode, you can put it there, or you can leave us a review on Apple iTunes. That'd be great. But we will include your comments and your questions in a future episode of the podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at Fun with Friends Podcast, and be sure to like, rate, and review the Fun with Friends podcast wherever you listen to it. And with that, get out there, try something new, and have some fucking fun. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Fun with Friends podcast, a CEI media production. Please like, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, as it helps us greatly. You can follow us on Instagram at Fun with Friends Podcast and on Facebook. If you would like to support the podcast, you can become a patron for just $5 a month. The link is in the episode description. Now get out there, try something new, and have some fun. Bye.